In other news this lunchtime, the Cabinet has signed off on plans to end most of the COVID-19 restrictions by the end of the month. Masks would no longer be mandatory in schools, shops or public transport, while testing will be scaled back.
We haven't left the house without them for almost 2 years. But as the country prepares to shed the last of its COVID-19 restrictions, the Cabinet has agreed to scrap the legal requirement to wear a face mask in all but health settings from Monday, though it will still be advised to wear them on public transport. In a sign of the times, testing and tracing will also be scaled back.
So there would be less PCR testing, there'd be less antigen testing, and there'd be different rules depending on, different age groups, vulnerability. Obviously, we're still watching very carefully around the world for variants of interest, variants of concern, and what we need to maintain is the capacity to really step back up again if needed.
Schools will also look different in March, with an end to pods and bubbles. As we move away from the emergency phase of the pandemic, NPHET as we know it will be stood down.
As the weather improves, as we move more outdoors, we know this is very much a respiratory indoors transmission, so that should give us the opportunity to remove all the restrictions.
A move towards pre-pandemic times is also on the mind of the UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He announced yesterday that all legal COVID-19 restrictions in England will be lifted on Thursday. However, the message both here and in the UK is that the pandemic is not over and the risk of new variants still remains. Hannah Murphy, Virgin Media News.
Well, let's get some reaction now to the plan to end most of our restrictions with our reporter Paul Quinn. So, Paul, what have people been saying?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, Caroline, there's definitely a mixed reaction to today's announcement. As Hannah mentioned in her report, masks have become such a big part of our lives over the last 2 years, and in just a week the rules around how we wear them are going to change dramatically. I think those who are medically vulnerable will be particularly anxious today. Speaking to the Irish Cancer Society, the Irish Kidney Association, they believe that this move has come too soon and that the people that they represent will be extremely fearful and anxious about today's announcement. Also a lot of concern in the school community. The Teachers Union of Ireland saying it has concern particularly for medically vulnerable students and also for teachers. All the teacher unions would have liked to have seen a gradual move in easing of restrictions, particularly in schools. The INTO pointed to the fact that since Christmas around 100,000 children, school-aged children, have got COVID-19. They say an average of 75 children under 14 have been hospitalised every week, and a particular concern too in primary school, where 3/4 of those aged 5 to 11 haven't been vaccinated. But then on the other hand, you're going to have people who are extremely happy about today's announcement. Parents of children who didn't want to see them having to wear masks in schools, perhaps teachers who didn't want to have to wear masks in school, they will be happy about today's decision as well. Now, we've been out and about on the streets of the capital here this morning, getting the views of members of the public.
I'm delighted because I think particularly for children in classrooms it's been a bit of a pain, so I'm thrilled.
A concern about my son, so I'm not happy for that. Even you can see my son, we come into the city centre and we wear masks, so I'm not happy.
I'm happy to get rid of them, kind of. Like, say if you walk up like 3 flights of stairs, because our school is really tall, like you're going to get a bit out of breath, but also like I feel safer with them on at this point.
No, I think the masks should be still worn on shops and still going into buses. Because you still a lot of vulnerable people around.
Glad to be not to have to wear a mask anymore, but at the other side, I think we have to still be careful because there's still quite a number of people having COVID.
I'm not too fond of getting rid of them because, they're kind of like my safety net.
It's they're annoying sometimes, but they still keep people safe.
Now, while the advice will still be to wear them on public transport, the NPRU believes that this decision is probably coming too soon, talking about a potential risk to thousands of transport workers out there. However, we know that they won't be required or won't be mandatory anymore in shops, and retail associations welcoming that move.
OK, Paul Quinn, thank you very much for that.